Hi, I'm Stan Lee, editor of the Marvel Comics group of superhero comic magazines. Comic books have been a big business for the past 25 years, and they're bigger than ever today. Now then, it would seem that the big problem is this: can the enthusiasm for these comic magazines be successfully transferred to another media such as television? We most definitely feel that it can.
The Silver Age of Marvel Comics began in the 1960s. It was an important era for the company and comics as a whole. After recovering from an outcry against comic books for supposedly running children's minds, the little group, now known as Marvel Comics, sought to join in the superhero resurgence, catching up with competitor DC Comics. Beginning with the Fantastic Four in 1961, the Marvel Universe as we know it was ignited. In 1966, as Marvel Comics gained traction, it was announced during an interview with Stan Lee in the Hero Tribune that Marvel planned to expand its universe beyond the printed page, with plastic model kits, games, music, and television. Marvel Comics caught the attention of Grant Trey Lawrence Animation, which negotiated a deal with publisher Martin Goodman to create an umbrella series with 5 segments dedicated to 5 heroes: Captain America, Iron Man, the Mighty Thor, the Submariner, and the Incredible Hulk. The series' low budget resulted in the animators adopting a technique called xerography. Xerography was already well established and proved to be a good time saver by reducing the effort it takes to hand ink and animated drawings onto a celluloid sheet. With xerography, the drawings could be printed directly onto the celluloid. However, for the Marvel superheroes, the animators used the artwork directly from the comics as the basis for the animation. Although some might even call it that, as this led to little movement from the characters. The most you'd get would be their mouths opening to talk, or an arm moving up and down. Regardless of the low quality nature of this series, it's grown to become a fun piece of Marvel's history. Because later releases of the show single out the segments of each character as their own individual show, these episodes have become recognized as exactly that. So with all that out of the way, let's get into The Incredible Hulk from 1966.
Fan out, man. We've got to find that Hulk.
And thus a name is given to the green-skinned Goliath.
Because the series was directly taken from the comic books, this is a near-perfect adaptation of Hulk's early issues and his appearances in Tales to Astonish. Really, the only changes from the source material are slight dialogue tweaks and Hulk's skin being green instead of gray in the origin episode, because at that point, it was still nothing more than a goof. For the most part, the quote-unquote animation is rough, but every so often, the characters would have dynamic movement. Or so, that's what I refer to it as, in comparison to everything else. But it's a nice look at what the show could have been all around with a higher budget. The only aspects of the entire Marvel superheroes lineup that are animated well enough are the openings. And Hulk's is arguably one of the best, thanks to the music that accompanies it.
Dr. Banner, belted by gamma rays, turned into the Hulk.
It is so non-threatening for a character like Hulk, and I'd love to know what the idea was. I'm guessing someone didn't see the sarcasm in calling the Hulk the Jolly Green Giant. The voice acting is solid. I don't feel like anyone phoned it in here, and it's one of the more enjoyable aspects of the series, as everyone brings forth great interpretations of these characters that fit in with how I'd imagine they sounded like from the era. Max Ferguson is credited as voicing both Bruce Banner and Hulk, one of the few times a performer portrays both personas. Banner sounds like a smart guy who has the temper to match.
It was I who created the robot, and I must be the one to destroy it.
And Hulk has that old school gravelly monster voice.
So, this is what the little man tried to destroy me with. A gun!
Chronologically, some episodes are a little off. For instance, in episode 6, Talbot is introduced as if he were in the previous episodes already, and episode 10 had Rick Jones with a psychic connection with the Hulk, something that was introduced in issue 3, the same issue where the Ringmaster story is taken from. The show just didn't adapt what happened beforehand, so this just pops out of nowhere with no context. Although, to be fair, even with context, it still felt random and it goes away as quickly as it appeared. An Avengers story is also present, with no other episode introducing the characters or explaining why Hulk has become a part of it. Obviously, outside the show, we know the Marvel superheroes, but within the isolated stories of the Hulk show, we don't know the Avengers before the episode, and they never appear again or are mentioned. It's a wonder why the series didn't go in the same order as the comics. Although, even with taking stories out of order, the rest of them never overlap or require an additional story to understand why something is happening. Hulk and the rest of the Marvel superheroes have had limited releases on home media. In 1982, Guild Home Video released a couple of cassettes of this series in the UK. In 1998, 20th Century Fox Home Entertainment released the first episode on cassette, and in 2003, the first episode was attached as a bonus feature on the Incredible Hulk animated DVD. The only complete release of the series is from the Region 2 DVDs by Liberation Entertainment and Clearvision. We have yet to see that here in North America or anywhere else. The series isn't even available for purchase digitally, so the best way to watch it, as well as the rest of the Marvel superheroes lineup, is either to get the DVD overseas and use a Region Free player, or to get a bootleg. The series is available for purchase on Amazon here, but it's over $100, and I don't think it makes it clear that it's a Region 2 DVD. I feel bad for those who bought it thinking it doesn't work. Marvel has uploaded the theme songs from this series in pristine quality, so they must have the rights to it, and it begs the question, why haven't they released the shows over here on DVD? Not even Disney Plus release? Maybe something is in the works, who knows. Hulk and the rest of the Marvel superheroes from this series have become popular over time, whether it's to laugh at how cheap the production is or to enjoy the faithful adaptations of these stories. In general, Marvel's cartoons from the 60s to the early 70s are looked at fondly, and Hulk 66 isn't any different. The show is a decent series, with a certain charm to its jankiness, making it a fascinating watch. It may be difficult to get into for those who are used to more fluid animation, but if you think of it as a motion comic, then it works. If you're a Hulk fan who hasn't seen this, then it's an easy recommendation for me. Once the 80s began, so did Marvel's new subsidiary company, Marvel Productions, a television and film studio ready to work on Saturday morning cartoons, primetime specials, and pilots. The studio was originally under the name D. Petty Freeling Enterprises, which had partnered with Marvel before its acquisition, but after the studio dissolved, Marvel jumped at the chance to produce its own projects, as in Stan Lee's own words, "We figured if people are going to ruin our characters, we could probably do it as well as anybody else." The first projects released under the Marvel Productions banner were Spider-Man and Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends in 1981. Spider-Man aired in syndication, while Amazing Friends aired on NBC as a part of the network's Saturday morning lineup, garnering more attention and success. Enough so that executives wanted other heroes to get their shot at an animated series. Unsurprisingly, one of those heroes was none other than the Incredible Hulk, who appeared in the Amazing Friends episode, Spidey Goes Hollywood.
Ah! Stupid soldiers, throw net on Hulk. Hulk's stronger than anything!
A producer hires Spider-Man to make a film, but unbeknownst to our wall crawler, the producer is being blackmailed by Mysterio, who is secretly running the whole production. Meanwhile, the Hulk is on the loose near the area. But after reverting to Bruce Banner, he happens to meet up with Spider-Man, who offers him a job on set. Banner notices all the weird happenings during production, but before he can warn Spider-Man, he hulks out, and a battle ensues. The episode is a loose adaptation of The Amazing Spider-Man issue 14, where Spider-Man first encounters Hulk in a similar situation. It's also the first appearance of Green Goblin. Acting as a backdoor pilot, the episode was a success and saw the Green Goliath getting his own series in 1982, The Incredible Hulk. To address the Hulk-sized elephant in the room, this series also followed the 1977 live-action series, which ended 4 months before the show premiered. The live-action show gave Hulk a huge uptick in popularity. It was what most people knew the character from, so I don't doubt the production behind this series had thoughts about whether they'd want to emulate that show or stick with the source material, and as we can see, the latter was chosen. I'm glad this show went with the comics. For as great as the live-action show is, I think a lot of Hulk fans at the time were hungry to see a version more in tune with what they were reading. An enormous powerhouse that could go several miles in a single leap, and crush tanks like tin cans. Also, it just makes for a better animated show, as a large part of why the Bixby Ferrigno series was presented that way was because it was live-action. Right away, it's evident this series is a huge step up from Hulk's previous animated outing, so in that regard, the show was already a huge improvement. The series is presented with self-contained episodes that follow Bruce Banner on whatever adventure he's thrown into, which is further exacerbated by his Hulk dilemma. Alongside fighting super geniuses and monsters, Hulk is occasionally hounded by the military. It's a simple premise that lends itself to whimsical stories, and man does this show take that to heart, as a good chunk of the series is full of original, wacky storylines, like Hulk fighting Quasimodo in Paris, which was adapted to a comic. That's not to say these stories are bad, but don't expect the series to have a lot from the source material outside of the necessities. Initially, I was a bit put off by it, but I've come to appreciate it for what it is. You could view this as a nice change of pace from the 66 cartoon, as that quite literally took from the comics in all fronts. The only issue I have with the show's original stories is that most don't feature Hulk villains. We either have Hulk fighting someone like Dr. Octopus, or a blob that consumes everything. The only Hulk villain in this series, besides Ross, who isn't really a villain here, is the leader, and he's a bit different from what you expect. Unlike other iterations, he doesn't seem to have much interest in Hulk. He doesn't want to gain his power, or use him for other purposes. Hulk's just there as an inconvenience to him and his biker gang. Banner doesn't even seem that shocked to see another gamma-powered person. His episode would have been a great way to bring in another Hulk villain, working alongside the leader, or have the leader with an army of gamma mutates in place of the bikers. Outside of that, the episodes are fine, and emulate the type of outlandishness you'd find in an early Hulk comic. The supporting cast, exclusive to the show, Ryu and Rita, are nice additions. Major Talbot is portrayed as more of a doofus here, so he has a lot of funny, dumb moments. Although speaking of Talbot, his name here is Ned Talbot instead of Glenn Talbot. It's a small but interesting change that I can only attribute to wanting the nickname Noodlehead Ned to sound better. It's not the only change this show makes, as other minor differences are present throughout, such as Rick Jones having long blonde hair along with a cowboy hat, and Betty Ross having short black hair. These don't ruin the show, they're just little changes that make you go, well, that's new. My least favorite aspect is Rick Jones' cowboy hat. The long blonde hair is one thing, but why the cowboy hat? I actually really dig Betty's short hair. I wouldn't mind seeing more interpretations with this cut. Hulk himself has a unique design here. You'd think they'd simply carry over how he and Banner appeared in the Spider-Man episode, but there are alterations like the pants being a burgundy color, and Hulk sporting eyes with yellow scurli, complete with bushy eyebrows that sort of make it look like he's wearing eyeliner. It is a cool look though. I can't say it's my preferred design, but I wouldn't complain if a new interpretation borrowed some of these motifs. I think the only surprising addition to this adaptation is the fact that Banner's clothes regenerate every time he reforms. The show's production bible makes note of this and reasons that it's the easiest way to have Hulk with new clothes after every transformation, which, by the way, are awesome and animated really well. This show suffered from some censorship on the action side of things, as TV networks succumbed to the pressures of activist groups who didn't like seeing violence in children's programming. Layout artist Boyd Kirkland talks about this during an interview with John Tupor from the Incredible Hulk 1982 cartoon website. I remember that the Hulk was particularly problematic because of what he's all about, destruction. For example, when he knocked down a wall, he had to do it with an open hand, not with a fist. That's how ridiculous some of the network's rules were. The writers and storyboard artists really struggled to interject action and excitement into the shows, given all the limitations. He also mentions that Spider-Man and his amazing friends couldn't directly adapt comic stories because of these limitations, so that might explain why Hulk also lacked direct adaptations. Honestly, I didn't notice anything that indicated severe limitations. Hulk did knock down a wall with his open hands, but he also directly punched walls, among other things. Maybe Hulk was given a bit more leeway because he's Hulk. By far, my favorite episode is the origin of the Hulk, which oddly isn't the first episode, despite the production bible stating that it would kick off the series. Nonetheless, it's a great retelling of Hulk's origin that replaces the Russian spy aspect with alien insectoids. The last couple of things I want to bring up are on the audio side of things. The voice actors for this series are as good as you expect. Bob Holt as Hulk is especially great.
Men on wheels make Hulk angry. When Hulk angry, Hulk smash!
And I believe he voiced the character previously in a Honeycomb commercial.
It's got a big bite that tastes right.
Big enough for Hulk?
Just try it.
Horse honeycomb cereal big and part of balanced breakfast.
It sure sounds a lot like him. The main theme for the show is superb. It's got a bombastic, heavy, heroic vibe that fits Hulk's savageness with underlying heroism. It helps that the opening itself is just as good. The Incredible Hulk lasted one season, but there were plans for a second one. In early 1983, an outline for season 2, including She-Hulk as the co-star, who previously appeared in the original show, was pitched to NBC. It would alter a few things about the show, like Hulk being changed to better act like his live-action TV counterpart, and She-Hulk not being Bruce's cousin anymore. It seems this didn't do enough to ignite a new season from NBC, so it never happened. And I'd imagine NBC didn't want to do it anyhow because, judging by modifying Hulk to be like the Frigno version, the series probably didn't do as well as hoped due to how different it was. A couple more attempts were made to keep Hulk projects on the air, with pitches for Teen Hulk and Hulkhound animated shows. However, those also failed to spark, and alas, this would remain Hulk's only animated show for the 80s. If you like to watch this show, then currently you can purchase it digitally on platforms like Amazon, Apple TV, and YouTube, so this isn't totally difficult to find. Although it's a wonder as to why this show isn't on Disney+. Disney should have ownership of the series, as footage was used in their Marvel mashups on Disney XD. Physical copies are hard to come by. Various VHS releases are out there with handfuls of episodes. But for those wanting a complete DVD release, your only option is the Region 2 DVDs from Liberation Entertainment and Clear Vision, although many bootlegs exist. Quality may vary. And that's The Incredible Hulk from 1982. It's a decent Hulk series that I think most fans of the character will enjoy. I can see why many might not be too into it due to how it's targeted toward a younger audience. That may seem like a funny complaint, as these are cartoons at the end of the day, but animated shows in the 80s were pretty different from now. They didn't seem to be taken seriously, and most were just glorified toy commercials. At least in Hulk's case, it was one of the better shows, and was a good interpretation of the character, all things considered. It certainly isn't forgotten either, in large part thanks to its diehard fans. Recently, this Hulk was referenced in Season 3, Episode 1 of What If Hulk fought the Mech Avengers. The episode begins with an in-universe cartoon called Go Avenger, Heroes of the Gamma War, a riff on 80s cartoons, complete with an appearance by Hulk, who was designed exactly like his 1982 counterpart, this time with purple pants. It's a cool cameo, but it further begs the question as to why this show isn't on Disney+. Oh well.
Do yourself a favor, Rick. Stay as far from me as you can, for your own safety.
Can't do that, Doc. It's my fault that this happened.
Until I can find a cure for this monster inside of me, nobody near me can be safe. And nobody must know that the monster is me.
I know. And that's gotta be some kind of help, huh?
I only hope you know what you're in for, Rick.
"1992 saw the launch of X-Men the Animated Series, beginning a new age for Marvel animated shows, moving away from the silliness of the 80s to more mature, serialized stories, as well as a move for other cartoons from the era. Marvel pushed for more of its characters to get the same treatment, with the likes of the Fantastic Four, Iron Man, and Spider-Man being the next shows to follow X-Men. While success varied, Marvel wasn't going to stop there, as the next character up for a 90s makeover was the Hulk. New World, owner of Marvel at the time, had ordered Hulk to guest star in an episode of both Fantastic Four and Iron Man as a backdoor pilot for what a potential Hulk series could be. Hulk had his first appearance in the Fantastic Four episode Nightmare in Green, where Bruce Banner is invited to the Four Freedoms Plaza by Reed Richards to help cook up a potential cure for Ben Grimm. Unfortunately, Dr. Doom kidnaps Banner to use the Hulk as an easy way to dismantle the Fantastic Four. The episode is a good introduction to Bruce Banner, Rick Jones, and Hulk that already lays out the groundwork for the Man on the Run aspect, which would see the characters traveling across other areas of the Marvel Universe, meeting heroes and villains along the way. Hulk's next appearance is in the Iron Man episode, aptly titled Hulkbuster. This time, Banner helps Iron Man battle the leader, who seeks to use the Mandarin rings to travel back in time and stop Banner from becoming the Hulk. With this, we are introduced to one of Hulk's villains and his origin, showcasing more aspects of his world and serving as a glimpse as to who Hulk will be facing in his would-be series. The episodes did well enough for the higher-ups to greenlight Hulk's subsequent series, set to debut on the United Paramount Network in the fall of 1996.
So tell us about the Incredible Hulk animated series.
Well, it's hard to believe the first time we have the first TV animated Hulk TV series with myself doing the voiceover with an incredible cast. And it's going to be a very, very exciting show.
Are there any changes to the character or storylines?
Yes, it's very updated. According to like the new comic books, you have many different characters on the show. And in this show, the Hulk gets a chance to speak, express, and every episode is an adventure. We have an incredible cast. You got Luke Perry playing Rick Jones, Betty being played by Gene Francis, Gargoyle by Mark Hamill, and Shadow Stephen playing Doc Samson. Also, Neil McDonald plays Bruce Banner.
What's it like returning to a role after such a long absence?
Well, it's wonderful because, first of all, I've done the live-action TV series, but now I get to play the voice and do the dialogue because it was always frustrating for me on the TV series that he didn't speak. But now he gets a chance to speak, I get a chance to do that. It brings back a lot of memories, and it brings back, it's kind of like putting the icing on the cake.
What brought you back to the Hulk character?
I've been the Hulk my whole life. I love how sensitive he is, sympathetic he is, emotional he is, how people see him as a monster but not as a creature. He's a creature. He has this very soft heart.
All friends?
Did you read the Hulk comic books?
Oh, yes. I mean, it was my first comic book. I mean, the Hulk and Superman. I've had thousands and thousands of Hulk comic books. I've literally studied them. I mean, I was like, I lived the character of the Hulk. I mean, I was like absorbed in the comic book.
Like other shows at the time, merchandise galore backed the Incredible Hulk with clothing, food, and toys. Interestingly, a Burger King collab was in the works, but unknowingly never came to fruition. Fear not, however, as this Hulk found his way to the Marvel Superheroes Burger King set in 1999, albeit in the UK. But regardless of fast food deals falling through, it was abundantly clear that Marvel had high hopes for this series. With anticipation steadily rising, fans were eager to get a look at the all-new Incredible Hulk. The series begins with a cold opening that perfectly sets the mood, displaying the torment of Hulk's existence and how it has put a strain on Bruce Banner and his relationships. The show was set well after Banner had already become the Hulk, as he's working on a project that could rid him of the creature. Unfortunately, the military finds out about the operation and puts a stop to it, causing Banner to transform and cause a ruckus. He's captured and is put into military confinement. Even here he's not safe, however, as the leader finds out about the ordeal and seeks to capture Banner for himself to steal his gamma power. It's a nice introduction to Hulk's world, showing who he is and what the main theme of the series will be: a man on the run looking for a cure. It's standard Hulk fare, but hey, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. I really appreciate the show taking elements of Hulk's comic history thus far and blending them together across 13 episodes. The significant changes to the source material aren't as overwhelming as one would expect. A change like Gargoyle, Hulk's first enemy, being the leader's lackey is pretty funny and made me enjoy this version a lot more. I also believe this is one of the first adaptations to link the leader's origin to Hulk instead of randomly getting juiced up with Gamma. So that's a neat reinterpretation that's carried over across other Hulk stories. Hulk's origin itself actually has a small change that's a lot more interesting on the outside. Here, Bruce Banner is working on a gamma reactor that goes awry and bombards him with gamma rays. Aside from the gamma bomb change removing the Cold War ties to the origin, the gamma reactor idea was also implemented to synergize with the potential Hulk film from around that time. A common thing about most of the episodes is the fact that Banner manages to find a device that could potentially cure him, and just as he's about to do it, boom, it's interrupted. You start to notice the pattern by episode 4, and I can see it getting old really fast for some. The show slows down from that point on, and the episodes get better overall. Keeping in line with Marvel's other shows from the era, this series includes tons of guest stars. Iron Man shows up, which is fitting as Hulk appeared on his show. The same goes for the Thing appearing, of course. When you can, you gotta have the Thing in a Hulk episode, and vice versa. These are some of the best episodes from the series, which you'd think would be because of the guest appearances, but they're just a cherry on top of an already great story. The Ghost Rider, Thing, and Thor episodes are my favorites because we see the moral dilemma surrounding Banner and the idea of whether Hulk truly is a terrible curse. Would Bruce Banner be one to give up his chance to return to a life of normalcy if it meant being Hulk would protect those he cares for? Maybe living with this quote-unquote disease has its blessings. But how would you feel knowing a simple mood swing led to you leveling a town of innocent people? The episodes featuring Hulk's recognizable foes and characters he often tussles with are also really good. The Wendigo episode is one of my favorites, as it feels more intense, more monstrous than most, and has a favorite moment of mine where Hulk and Ross have to work together to save Betty. Hulk's supporting cast is implemented well. I'm glad Betty has more to do here concerning helping Bruce, instead of being kept in the dark about his Hulkness. And Rick Jones does his best to tag along and be there for Bruce as well. Doc Samson is a welcome addition. I'm always happy to see the character when he actually cares about Bruce Banner. General Ross and the rest of his associates are how you expect them to behave with an internal grudge for the Hulk. Supervillains like the leader are implemented well enough, but I do wish he had gotten his hands more dirty, like his appearance in the Iron Man show. I don't have any other issues with the rest of Hulk's villains. I didn't like Abomination essentially being a mindless beast, but that quickly goes away, and he develops his own personality. I love the voice actors here. A big highlight is Neil McDonough as Bruce Banner. His performance, combined with the writing, reveals the intellectual side of Bruce, who is reserved and quiet, but at the same time isn't a pushover and can handle himself. He's clearly a broken man, but it's not worn on his sleeve. And he's a science genius, but it's not expressed in a way to make you go, wow, this guy's a total nerd. There's a nice balance here.
I can't do this. There are these feelings I just didn't expect. Hulk, you came from me, were a part of me, and maybe still are me. In an odd way, I really do understand you. So how can I just destroy you?
Lou Ferrigno does a good job as Hulk. I don't know why it took this long for him to voice the character. His interpretation of Hulk might not have that gravelly, deep monster voice most would come to expect, but it's not different enough to where it doesn't fit Hulk. I like it quite a bit, and his roars are on point. He also isn't the only person reprising a role, as Matt Frewer, the leader, voiced a character in the Iron Man show. Season 1 ends on a cliffhanger, with Banner and Hulk being rejoined after their separation, but Ross's paranoid antics disrupt the process, leading to Rick Jones falling into a nutrient bath combining the two, and emerging as a Hulk himself. Banner comes out seemingly unscathed, but as he heads out to chase after Rick, he undergoes a transformation of his own into the Grey Hulk. And with that ends Season 1. A great season all around, and a promising start for this version of the character. It performed well with high ratings, making a second season a no-brainer, but with that began the beginning of the end. Going into Season 2, there is a shakeup in production. Throughout the first season, the creatives incorporated elements they wanted over the desire of the network, and we all know creative differences are the root of all evil in the entertainment biz. The UPN executive assigned to the show was most obsessed with fashion of all things. To quote art director and producer Dick Sebast, the executive kept insisting that everyone looked like they just stepped out of a shop on Rodeo Drive. Now, that doesn't exactly scream Hulk, but of course, if you don't go the way of the higher-ups, you're in a heap of trouble. So, beginning with Season 2, it was mandated by the network that if the production refused to meet demands, the show would be pulled. In comes a new producer, director, and crew. The shift coming to the second season was announced in issue 71 of Wizard magazine, with story editor Greg Johnson explaining the reasoning and various changes coming, like a lighter tone, and Banner not being a fugitive anymore. To keep the spirits lifted, She-Hulk was brought on as a co-star. She was previously introduced in episode 7, Doomed, where Dr. Doom kidnaps Hulk yet again for nefarious purposes. Her origin was changed a bit. Instead of getting shot by the mob, she is injured amidst Doom's attack, and as he has her held captive to blackmail Hulk, Bruce manages to perform an emergency blood transfusion to save her. She-Hulk is probably the most well-known aspect of this series, and I'm sure even then she was a fan favorite, so it's no surprise to have her tag along with Hulk for the remainder of this new, vibrant season. It's also a funny coincidence of sorts that the previous Hulk show planned to do the same thing for its second season, but unlike that one, this actually got off the ground. In the Wizard magazine interview, Johnson hopes the series will still appeal to Hulk fans, regardless of the creative shift. Well, let's see for ourselves. Season 1 left audiences with the haunting segment of Bruce transforming to the Grey Hulk as Rick Jones, now Hulkified, wanders off into the desert. Season 2 opens up where we left off, as Grey Hulk is seemingly going after Rick. It actually isn't clear what he's doing out here other than raging, and I don't think he even cares about Rick being hulked out at this point. Grey Hulk is stopped by General Ross, who's still going cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs, and tries to kill him with a Gamma Blaster. Grey Hulk dodges the beams as they hit the rocks behind him, which come tumbling down, potentially killing Ross had Grey Hulk not shielded him. Grey Hulk reforms into Bruce, soldiers find him and think he tried to kill General Ross, so he's arrested and put on trial. That's when Shoki shows up again as his lawyer to help him out, only for the leader to return to steal some Gamma Juice after his mishap in Season 1. Grey Hulk shows up again and works out a deal to get Rick for the leader, who will be able to transfer Rick's Gamma to himself. In exchange, the leader offers to remove Banner from Grey Hulk. Surprise surprise, it turns out he was lying and tries to zap Grey Hulk's power as well. Luckily, She-Hulk arrives to save the day, and after it's all said and done, Banner's innocence is revealed, and we end the episode with him tagging along with She-Hulk for the remainder of the season. It's funny how the whole arrest plot comes to fruition. Wasn't Banner already a fugitive who was ordered for arrest? Of all the times Hulk and Ross have battled, this is the line that's drawn? It's definitely a stark shift from the previous season. Betty and Rick get put into the background, Rick especially, which is the weirdest choice, as I don't see how he'd interfere with the lighter tone. I guess She-Hulk being Bruce's companion moving forward made Rick's inclusion null and void. Thankfully, Betty isn't totally absent. She appears in the latter half of the season, and the moments between her and Bruce are nice. It's funny how her return after the first episode is through a fashion show of all things. Hey, is anyone heard from Doc Samson? I feel Grey Hulk was shunned a bit throughout the series, and I think there's a reason for that. Now, what I'm about to say is off the record, as I can't find the statement to prove if it's true or not, but judging by the ludicrous changes, I wouldn't be shocked. Years ago, I read on a site discussing some trivia from the show that the network thought kids wouldn't like Grey Hulk, explaining why his appearances were kept at a minimum. If true, it explains a lot, like the decision to have Grey Hulk become Savage Hulk when he's angry enough, which I can't recall happening in the source material at the time. Although this season is less lenient on the comics, there are still episodes that allude to and loosely adapt various stories. One of my favorites is Mind Over Antimatter, an episode featuring Doctor Strange that takes elements from the moment Hulk became the Dark Hulk. Joe Fixit gets a reference, albeit it's more surface level, as he never goes to Vegas and becomes an enforcer, nor does he keep the title. Regardless, it's nice seeing as, even with a creative overhaul, there were still those who wanted to put as much of the source material in with the network looming over them. I'd imagine if the original team had stayed on, something like the Joe Fixit era would have been its own season. I noticed the animation took a bit of a dip. It's not enough to where you notice it right away, and really, it was only in relation to Hulk that I noticed it the most. Often, you'll see Grey Hulk's model colored like Savage Hulk, and a few of the transformations resort to recycled footage through a quick montage. The leader and his goons have more to do here, and I like seeing the leader up and about instead of hiding in his cave. Gargoyle turned into a She-Hulk admirer, and I still can't decide whether it's a good or bad change, but he remained one of my favorite characters. The last thing I'll have to say for this season is a new voice talent. Felice Sampler replaces Jean Francis as Betty Ross. The reason? I don't know. Maybe Francis had other things to do. But Sampler sounds a lot like her, so I didn't notice it. Sampler was also in the live-action TV series in the episode Darkseid. Cree Summer comes in as She-Hulk, replacing Lisa Zane. I thought Zane did a good job, but Summer is even better and perfectly fits She-Hulk's vibe. Such a tragedy that she hasn't returned. She's the definitive She-Hulk for me.
Golden tan or emerald green, I'm still the same person. And just as irresistible.
Another definitive voice is Michael Donovan as Grey Hulk. He is perfect as well, and it's upsetting we didn't get more of him.
Pounded and grounded.
Release me!
Check this, a talking toad.
The last we see of Grey Hulk in the final episode, he's taken over by a parasitic fish lady. That's disappointing, but hey, the episode felt a lot like a season 1 episode, so cool. With that wraps up season 2 and the entire series, as it was cancelled shortly thereafter. I know the first reaction is to spit on the network for making unwarranted changes, and while that no doubt contributed to the show getting axed, at this time Marvel was struggling. Marvel filed for bankruptcy a year earlier, causing many of its projects to crumble. This could have been another reason for the show's end. If nothing had changed in season 2, maybe it would have continued for a third season, but I feel it was always going to be cut short no matter what. I thoroughly enjoyed season 1. Hats off to the production for not being afraid to go for a more somber mood and pushing back against the network for as long as they could. Season 2 is for sure a downgrade, but upon rewatch after all these years, it's not as underwhelming as I thought. There are some good moments here. For as little as he's used, Grey Hulk is great, and She-Hulk is a lot of fun. If anything, I feel those two make season 2 well worth watching. In fact, the series as a whole is worth your time. and if you're into Marvel's cartoons from the 90s and somehow haven't watched this, then go for it. The good news is that, unlike the previous Hulk installments, the show is actually on Disney+. Hooray! The bad news is, this show still suffers from the physical media curse. It's had a couple of VHS releases with a few episodes. One of them is a Fox Kids release that includes a neat comic book exclusive to the cassette. However, its only DVD release here in North America is the Buena Vista Entertainment release that includes 4 episodes and some cool bonus features. As you might have guessed by now, the only complete release of this series on DVD so far is the Liberation Entertainment and Clear Vision releases. Wow, what a surprise. Not sure what's up with these DVDs not being available anywhere else. And because studios have been shying from physical media lately, I really don't think we'll see a complete DVD or Blu-ray release of Hulk's cartoons anytime soon. A few of the voice actors from this show returned in The Incredible Hulk Ultimate Destruction. Neil McDonough and Michael Donovan reprised their respective roles, while Richard Mole, who previously voiced Abomination, joined as the Devil Hulk. Michael Donovan also voiced the Grey Hulk in the Hulk movie video game. Marvel revisited its era of 90s cartoons with X-Men 97, a revival of X-Men the Animated Series. Within the show are all sorts of cameos and callbacks to the other shows airing at the time, including The Incredible Hulk. General Ross makes an appearance, and Morph shapeshifts into Hulk. General Ross's design has some leeway, it's really the outfit that makes him look a little different, but Hulk is spot on to how he appeared in the show, with improved animation of course. X-Men 97 was enough of a success to generate buzz about Marvel revisiting more characters from this era, and Hulk may be one of them. Artist Tim Levins has shared artwork of 90s Hulk, said to be from Marvel's licensing department. An important thing to note is that Marvel specifically asked for Hulk to look like his 90s depiction, so there is something in relation to this version of Hulk that will be used somewhere. Whether it's for a variant cover or plastered on a t-shirt, this character is within Marvel's current subconscious, so to speak. After the 1990s, it would be a long time till Hulk got another animated series, but it came very close in the 2000s. Around the time of the Hulk movie in 2003, an animated show called Hulks was in the works. The series would have followed Bruce Banner's son, Bryce Banner, who was also a Hulk going through high school. The show was announced during an interview with actor Jason Marsden by Sequento Tart. Along with that, Marsden also revealed he would be voicing Bryce Banner. After that initial announcement, everything about the series went quiet and was seemingly cancelled before further development. Why? No one knows, but if I had to guess, it could very likely have been the result of the Hulk movie underperforming. Floating around online is concept art by Stephen E. Gordon, who worked on X-Men Evolution at the time with renderings of a teen Hulk and a regular looking Hulk. It hasn't been confirmed whether this was officially created for the show, but it's highly thought to be. At the 2008 Licensing International Expo, a new animated Hulk show titled Hulk Gamma Corps was announced, set to tie into the 2008 movie. The show would have been set on a remote and treacherous planet as Hulk confronted dangerous alien civilizations and classic Marvel villains across 26 episodes. With the show well into pre-production, another Marvel show also began production, The Avengers: Earth's Mightiest Heroes. There, the team working on Avengers thought to just fold the Hulk series into that show. Why? Well, here's an explanation from Joshua Fine, Director of Animation Development for Marvel Animation and supervising producer on Earth's Mightiest Heroes. It became apparent to us that the creative work that was being done to bring Hulk's world and his villains to life was too good to regulate to his universe alone, and would be much better suited as part of a full-on Avengers scenario. If you ask me, I'd say that's not the sole reason for the decision. I think the team was left with the choice of either going with Hulk or Avengers, and chose the latter because it was probably better to work on an ensemble cast of other Marvel heroes, and because Marvel was working on building anticipation for the Avengers movie. Also, the Hulk, yet again, had another movie underperform, so I don't doubt that was also another factor. Besides, Hulk would have appeared in Avengers anyway, so it seemed like an easy decision. It's still a bit of a gut punch, as I like Hulk and Earth's Mightiest Heroes, and seeing as how the same team behind that show was likely working on Gamma Corps, it very well could have been Hulk's best show. For now, Hulk remained a guest character on other shows and had some animated movies. At the 2011 San Diego Comic-Con, yet another animated Hulk show was unveiled, titled Hulk and the Agents of S.M.A.S.H. But in a surprise turn of events, the series managed to see the light of day, and join the roster of Disney XD's Marvel Universe block. Judging by the reception this show has received, maybe it would have been better if it had perished too, but is it truly as bad as people make it out to be? I did not care for this show when it was released, and didn't think much of it afterward. For a while, I had zero interest in checking it out until this video, and going into it, I had some low expectations. Especially since this is a Disney XD Marvel show, and it's unanimously agreed that those aren't very good. The worst of the worst was to be expected here. With all that being said, I enjoyed the series. The premise of this show is that Rick Jones creates a web series to chronicle Hulk's adventures, showing the world that he's not someone to be feared and is very heroic. Along the way, the Agents of S.M.A.S.H are born, comprised of Hulk, Rick, who is now A-Bomb, She-Hulk, Red Hulk, and Scar. The web series element isn't one of my favorite things, but it is a unique way of explaining why we, the audience, can see what's happening. But if I had the choice of removing it, I would, or at least a constant splicing of the interviews between the characters. It reminded me too much of the fourth wall breaks in Ultimate Spider-Man, and I felt it ruined the pace of many moments. The show does move pretty quick, so it's possible these were added to help pad things out, so they won't go too fast. I do like the final segments toward the end, where Hulk often gives a lesson as to what transpired, and I like the clever way of bringing the term Hulk out into the mix.
Hulk out.
This show has an overarching story across its 2 seasons that involves the leader doing what he always does, wanting to take over the world. Through the chaos, it brings in other villains, heroes, and locations across the Marvel Universe. The show isn't exactly serialized in a way where you need to watch every episode to get the gist of what's going on, as sprinkled in are other isolated adventures of the heroes. For a happy-go-lucky show, there is a bit of, dare I say, pathos that is touched upon with Hulk, who often expresses a lot of self-doubt. Even when people sing his praises, he feels undeserving of it and would rather focus on just helping out. But even with these feelings, he does not let it affect how he views the world or who he saves. The same applies to the rest of the group, who all go through the turmoil together, and are even on the run for a brief period because of the paranoia, despite it not being their fault. It may seem like nothing more than a mention, and is really the bare minimum when compared to other Hulk adaptations, but it genuinely surprised me to see the gloomy aspects of Hulk's life and world touched upon in a show like this. It's not enough to where it makes this a dark show or anything, but you do feel bad for what these characters have to go through and how some other heroes treat them. Hulk's mythos receives a bit of a shakeup, which is to be expected with adaptations, but the biggest change is Scar not being Hulk's son this time around. Instead, he's just a Hulk who is from the planet Sakaar, with no relation to Hulk, and acts similarly to traditional Savage Hulk, but more primitive, like a silly caveman. This could be something that bothers people, depending on how much they like Scar from the comics. I think he's meant to fill the role of your typical Savage Hulk, who isn't really here. Rick Jones, aka A-Bomb, is well in line with how he usually acts, just a bit more silly and energetic, so he can be the typical ecstatic cartoon character who thinks everything is awesome. Red Hulk is the same way, in that he's also like how he's usually portrayed, but is less mean and more heroic to better fit with the team and a happier tone of the show. She-Hulk is a bit different, but with the way the show presents these characters and their issues, it's a change that had to be done, and it's not really an enormous deviation like Scar. She-Hulk suffers from the same feelings as the rest of the cast, in that she often feels like an outcast, and can be sensitive as someone like Hulk when he's ostracized. She does not have that same level of confidence that you expect from regular She-Hulk. Hulk's character here is interesting. I'm not sure if the Hulk we see here is a different personality, or a version of Savage who just gained clarity. When Hulk gets angry enough, he reverts to his usual Hulk speak and regular ways. That made me think this was likely still Savage Hulk, but who learned to think and speak properly. However, there's an episode where Bruce Banner returns, and it's as if there wasn't a significant change other than him shrinking down and gaining back his smarts. At the same time, Hulk refers to Banner as his own person, so this isn't completely Banner? I'm guessing Hulk and Banner remember each other's thoughts and memories compared to other versions, and possibly after being Hulk for a while, he was able to gain bits of Banner's mind. Besides the leader, the few other Hulk villains included are great, even if the show doesn't go with some deep cut picks like Beast, who I think would have made for a great episode. Abomination is my favorite. I love the way he was introduced and how much of a genuine threat he felt, both physically and intellectually. I'm so happy to hear him with a Russian accent as well. Another character with a great appearance is Xemnu, who only appeared for a single episode, but I liked it a lot. Other than the villains, the few other Hulk characters to appear are Doc Samson and Betty Ross. Doc Samson's appearance was fun, as he tried to teach Scar to be more civilized. I wish he made other appearances, giving the team an extra hand here and there. When it comes to Betty Ross, I'm really disappointed with her appearance, as it was just for a single episode. She doesn't even appear in the other shows from this universe, aside from a tiny cameo during a flashback in Avengers Assemble. For as little as she stuck around, I liked her, and she was really smart as well. Her absence must be a result of not wanting to retread old ground, and not have any relationship drama bog down the show. I like the various deviations of the characters that are introduced across the episodes, like Hulk becoming a vampire, the agents of S.M.A.S.H turning into Wendigos, and Hulk becoming a literal planet Hulk. The Dark Hulk was a really cool sub-character, so to speak, that was a manifestation of Hulk's pure rage and ruthlessness, originally introduced as Hulk's greatest fear. Again, that ties back to the show touching upon Hulk's more depressing side, which is even more of a stark contrast compared to how well kept this incarnation of Hulk is. As expected, there are numerous guest appearances from other heroes and villains. I'm surprised The Thing, along with the rest of the Fantastic Four, showed up, as this was during the height of Disney wanting nothing to do with the X-Men and Fantastic Four because of Fox's stranglehold on the film rights at that point. Wolverine makes an appearance during the Wendigo episode, because yeah, why wouldn't he? But he doesn't show up again, weirdly enough. I liked a lot of the guest appearances, but specifically, the Howling Commandos episodes were fun because we got to see Hulk hang out with other monsters, and we got nice nods toward Hulk being inspired by Frankenstein. The voice actors are solid. I don't have much to say other than good things. Fred Tatasciore reprises his role as Hulk. No surprise there. He's been voicing the character since 2005. He's an excellent Hulk actor. Clancy Brown as Red Hulk works. It's on point with what I imagine he sounded like. The last time Red Hulk appeared on Earth's Mightiest Heroes, he was voiced by Tatasciore, which bothered me, so it's great to hear the different character actually sound like a different character.
Sorry, Gruesome. All your fire's doing is making me mad. And the madder I get, the hotter I get.
She-Hulk is voiced by Elijah Dushku, who admittedly isn't my favorite interpretation of the character, but she does a fine job either way. My issue with her is that she does not have that boldness and sass that someone like Cree Summer had, but I believe that's more so on how she was written here.
I offered Terax a deal he couldn't refuse. I throw the fight to make him look good, he gets his power back, and the Earth wins.
Ben Diskin's performance as Scar is fine. Aside from the caveman dialect, his voice fits the character.
Green hair tells Scar knock. Scar knock. Now Scar come in.
I can't believe Seth the Green voices Rick, but he's good. He's always been a talented voice actor, so it's expected. It's just funny to hear some Brian Griffin slipping in and out.
What's up, Hokies? Grand Smasher A-Bomb here to reveal more hidden mysteries of the Gamma Base.
Closing things off, the negative aspects of the show boil down to its humor and a bit of its editing. The humor can be hit or miss because, again, this is a Disney XD Marvel show, so if you thought the humor in those other shows was annoying, then I don't think you'll like a lot of the stuff here. Some moments got a little heh out of me, but that's about it.
Here's red in your eye!
Scar, say catchphrase too!
Throw it, dummy, throw it!
It's not overbearing, but there are certain episodes where it's more prominent. Not to mention the "he's right behind me, isn't he?" type of dialogue. I don't think its editing is as egregious as its companion shows, but the constant sound effects and switching between those interviews when it's not needed can get in the way of enjoyment for many people. Although, to be honest, it has been a while since I watched either Ultimate Spider-Man and Avengers Assemble, so it may not be totally fair to compare based off old memory, but this show didn't seem as bad compared to those in that area. I'm shocked I enjoyed Agents of S.M.A.S.H as much as I did. I really expected nothing out of this, and was left pleasantly surprised at how this show wasn't completely juvenile. But with that being said, I'm not sure if I'd want to see something like this again, unless it was made with a bit of a more mature audience in mind. I wouldn't label this as Hulk's best show, but I don't believe it's a terrible show, anyhow. For being a change of pace, it does its job. I wonder if some elements from Hulk Gamma Corps were used here, as both shows are similar in the fact that they deviate from what many would expect. This series lasted 2 seasons, so it seems like Hulk struggles to go beyond a second season outside of live action, but at least this show actually has a proper conclusion. If you're hungry for some Hulk stuff and haven't seen this series, then watch the first couple of episodes to see if it's something you'll vibe with. It's available on Disney+. There are DVD releases, but for those of us living in North America, you'll have a difficult time getting them, as is the case with Hulk's other cartoons. It shouldn't be surprising at this point, just disappointing. Currently, this is Hulk's latest animated series. For now, he's gone back to making guest appearances in other shows. If there's anything to take away from all we've discussed, it's that Hulk seems to struggle just as much on the small screen, but there is room for improvement. I believe the 90s series is the best Hulk show we have so far. Its first season is a good start for a modern series to build upon. Because of X-Men 97's popularity, I've seen some propose a revival of 90s Hulk, and while that would be cool and a bit difficult given it'd need to rectify the second season, I wouldn't want that. A brand new Hulk series is the way to go. Unlike his movie rights, Marvel has complete control over Hulk's TV rights, so they could easily cook up a new series if they wanted to. It's pretty frustrating to think about, because a big reason we often hear as to why Marvel hasn't done anything substantial with Hulk is all because of those pesky distribution rights, and nothing more. Yet, Marvel could have created a new Hulk series, animated or live action, at any point, especially with the rise of Marvel shows on Disney+. I'm positive many fans would be just as happy to see Hulk get a new TV series instead of a movie, and with how animated shows have grown to do just as well as live action projects, I don't doubt it wouldn't be a success. I suppose we'll have to wait and see what lies in the future.